This week on RSBANDB Update, we're cooking with fantasy ingredients as we sample the RuneScape Cookbook. It's shrimp tacos and Ugthanki Camel Kebabs with a stein of Asgarnian Ale to wash it down. We delve into how to bring RuneScape to your kitchen with the right fantasy ingredients. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 987, recorded Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. Cooking with fantasy food. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of RSBANDB Update. This week, we got a little bit something different for you. Tanis, you're here as you are each and every week.
Thank you, Shane. I think we're going to be serving up a new dish, right?
Yeah, a couple, four of them in particular. We're going to be looking at the RuneScape Cookbook this week and talking about some of the menu items that are available in there. And to help us do that, we have two people joining us. First is Darkest Night from Clan Quest. Welcome to the show.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
Dark, you have, of course, become known for Clan Quest's cook-offs and, of course, running the minigame events at Clan Quest. So welcome to the show, and hopefully this will be an interesting experience for you. And I figured, who better to go to than the person who's organized. How many cook-offs is it now that you've done for Clan Quest?
Oh, gosh. I want to say we've been doing it for like 2 years now, and it's averaged about maybe 3 or 4 each year. So more than 5. I can guarantee more than 5. Nice.
And so basically how this works, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you open up a thread in Discord, you present a number of types of recipes that are available. People register their interest, then you hand out a recipe for that, and they have a month to cook it and share the results, right?
That's pretty much it. And we're quite flexible on recipes. I just tell them what they need to cook. I let them find the recipe. And of course, different dietary restrictions, you choose
Sure.
what works for you best.
Right on. And also on the podcast this week is Drama Free. I think you're taking part in the most recent Clan Quest cook-off with the RuneScape Cookbook, right?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
And of course, Drama Free has also been on the podcast before. And your claim to fame, in terms of what we've been talking about, is that you are perhaps one of the most average RuneScape players that we've ever had on the show, which is wonderful, because that's precisely who this podcast aims to serve. So welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Excited. I get that. Anything else cooking you want to get out of your system before I continue the rest of the introduction, or is that all you're going to be lobbing into us here?
That was the only one.
Okay, fair enough. But if you want to follow along, we do have full show notes available over at update.show. We have our Discord at update.show/Discord, and a friends chat as well at BitsBytes. And of course, before we begin, I just want to give a big thank you to our experienced tier Patreon members, for whom without RSBANDB Update would not be possible. This week, I'd like to thank Amos Reed, Andrew C., Drama Free, there you go, Jason S., Jesse W., Kesky, Ricky A., Rippeth, Runestar, and the Naked Captain. We'll be talking a little bit more about our Patreon offerings a bit later on the podcast, but in the meantime, let's get down to the RuneScape Cookbook. So, how hard of a decision was it for either of you to buy the book when it was first announced? Let's go to you, Dark, first.
Oh, not hard at all. I mean, I've been doing the cook-offs for quite a while. The first one was a RuneScape-themed one, and that was me just trawling through the wiki, just finding, that's a relevant recipe. Let's do that one.
Okay.
So hearing they were going to do an official one, I thought, well, it's come full circle. You've got to go forward, right?
Yeah. Fair enough. How about you, Drama Free? What was your first reason to decide to buy the cookbook?
For me, it was a no-brainer. Once I found out that it was happening, it was an insta-buy. Because I could live vicariously through the podcast and, people playing the game and getting achievements a lot of the time. And I play when I can, and I have a lot of fun with it. But being able to have the nostalgia of seeing, the items in the book and make those recipes, it's fun for me, and I just really like to bring kind of that game or nostalgia into my real life.
Right. So bringing the game of RuneScape to you, I know when we first looked at the book, we were wondering, how closely are these items in the cookbook going to parallel what you could make in real life, for example, and what has been the both of your guys' general feeling on that in terms of, yes, it might say, Ugthanki Kebab on that, but how has the RuneScape-ness transferred over to real life? If you were eating something after you've made it with the RuneScape cookbook, would you know it was RuneScape themed, or is this, just a generic item, so to speak?
I think they did well in the book. That you're cooking a RuneScape theme dish, but presenting it to anybody, they couldn't tell you. They would say this is a phenomenal dish. This is great. Let's laugh, have fun, and enjoy dinner.
Okay, fair enough. And I guess another thing, looking into the cookbook with that, and I'll ask this one to you, Dark, but with the cookbook itself, how do you feel that this was presented to the wider audience? Like, is this just something that anybody could pick up and have a good time with, or do you have to have some semblance of a real life cooking level to it, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, funny you mention real life cooking levels, because one of the features of the cookbook is it actually mentions difficulty levels. So you might have novice level, intermediate, master, that sort of thing. So it does give you an idea of what your capability is going to be doing each recipe. So that's quite nice. But with regards to how, if you just pick it up, even if you have no background in it, I mean, all the recipes, as Drumfield was saying, is that, no one could recognise it from an outside that it would be particularly RuneScape unless you knew. So in that sense, it's quite nice and quite accessible. But it's got the flavour there. When you pick it up, when you open it, you can tell it's RuneScape. I don't want to give too much away in case people want to buy the book themselves. But we do have some Eris from the... I'm going to mispronounce this, so I'm so sorry. Culinary-romancer sort of quests. That thing, it all ties in. So you can
that's
tell it's
interesting.
RuneScape. That's nice. I like that a lot. So it really does tie in. And I suppose it's actually sort of a way to, if someone hasn't got a background in RuneScape, maybe, okay, what is that? And it's like a rabbit hole.
Right. And just looking at the table of contents here, I'd see that you already go there in the IRL ingredients guide, perhaps, to kind of, give you an idea of how to make those connections with that. And I see something in there called Quest Certificate, too. Are you basically going to be doing Cook's Assistant in this quest, or in this book, is my next question.
Yeah, kind of. But there's actually an achievement diary in this cookbook, which is also really nice. It's like a little challenge thing. But it's basically that there's an introduction bit, and it sort of gives you the background, and it gives you sort of your own. The book is a quest. Your goal is, just as you would do in the original sort of recipe for disaster quest, do all the recipes, do it, get to the end, you've got yourself a little quest certificate. So it's really cute in that way.
I honestly see when I looked at this, I realized that we have Quest Certificate on there, but I didn't know how that was going to be tied into everything, and I think that just adds another level to this for the RuneScape player out there. It really is. It really is. So, I just assumed we were getting a cookbook with this. I didn't know that there was going to be wider integration into the game on that.
There's lore.
Oh, there's lore. Okay. Do you want to spoil any of that? Because I know we have that. I know we have the first introductory page that's signed off by Eris. Just thumbing through the Amazon listing of this. Do you want to give any teasers to that lore?
I won't give too many teasers, but I do believe there is at least one recipe you can see on the Amazon sort of preview pages, and you get your little introductory bit at the front, and that is just sort of pure sort of flavor text. That is your tie into RuneScape. How does this recipe relate to RuneScape itself, whether that be RS3 or old school RuneScape? There's a sort of tie-in there, and I won't go into it too much detail. But it's a nice nod to some sort of. It's a nice tribute to the original source material.
All right. Well, let's get into some recipes then. We drew this up before we began here. We're going to start off with drama free and the shrimp tacos. So, how exactly did this go about, and how did you wind up picking this one?
So I chose shrimp tacos because I'm pescatarian, so I eat vegetarian but shellfish, everything like that. So shrimp tacos were really like appealed to me. And so the reason I really wanted to make them is it's simple, but you can do as much work as you want or as little work as you want, and even in this recipe. For instance, they talk about another, a sauce you could add to the shrimp tacos that you can make under the sauces category, or you could just do your off-the-shelf Cholula or anything like that you wanted to. So I thought that was a cool little touch. The other reason it's a novice recipe, and it's pretty much has everything that you're going to have inside of your house, right?
Oh, okay.
So things like cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, things like that. Very, very simple. The outside thing you have to buy, are corn tacos and shrimp. Very simple.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
One thing that I really like about this recipe and all the recipes going in the book is these ones you use a charcoal grill.
Ooh.
Every time you use a charcoal grill, the first step is it explains to you how to use a charcoal grill, right? It doesn't just have set your shrimp on a charcoal grill, do this, this, and this. It actually steps it out every single time. And the next time you do a recipe that you're using charcoal with, you can just skip step one because you already know it.
Right. Okay. And see, I guess that kind of goes into where we go next with this, is that, you mentioned, you have the ingredients like the shrimp, the spices and whatnot. And did you expand on the recipe following through with what they recommended for the spice on this, or did you use your own spice that you were already aware of going into it?
I just used these for that time. It's easy to expand on it, but this just gives you a baseline novice shrimp tacos. The one extra that I like and that I struggle with personally is what's the side dish I'm going to bring with this.
Yeah,
so
what did you do for the side dish?
A protein. Great question. It gives you a side dish, right? You make like a coleslaw.
Okay. And you went with that?
Yeah, so you can add it to the tacos, or you can just have that as a standalone side dish.
Okay, that's good for people who, would just maybe like the tacos on their own. And, I guess just to get back to the charcoal grill side of it, and you went with the charcoal, I'm assuming?
Yeah, a little kiss of that charcoal.
Okay. How do you think it would go if somebody just wanted to, use the generic pan, for example, instead?
Absolutely fine. Typically, a lot of these recipes, they give you two options. So it'll say like you can do this or you can bake it in the oven. So that's another benefit of the cookbook. You could cook these, you can put them on your stove, you can smoke them. Any way that you know how to cook shrimp, you can do it.
Nice. And after you were finished with everything for this, how did they turn out? Were you the only one eating? Who'd you share with?
Share with my wife, and we loved them. Very simple, very quick. I would say maybe 25 minutes for someone who cooks often, maybe 35, 40 minutes for someone who is doing step by step.
Right, and that's what it says here. Prep time 35 minutes, cook time 10 minutes. So that's right on the mark then.
Yeah, and the next time you do it, or the next time you do a variation of shrimp tacos, it'll be faster.
Do you think you'd do this recipe again?
I would probably turn these into like Buddha bowls or protein bowls with like rice, or like a heavier, maybe like a rice and like a 50-50 spring mix base, and then add some shrimp on top of that and do the coleslaw with that, and maybe shred the corn taco instead, kind of like a protein power bowl.
Sure. And overall, how would you say that this? How would you say this turned out compared to other shrimp tacos that you've had or made?
I've made shrimp tacos before, but the way I did this for kind of test here was I followed the instructions like step by step, exactly what they told
to
me.
kind of get the RuneScape shrimp taco experience.
Yes. And in how is the cookbook? Did they tell me I needed an ingredient and then I never told me to put it in? And that's not true for this. They told me to put everything in, and I thought it was wonderful. I would definitely make them again the same or like a variant of them.
Right. And if you look at the top of the page for the shrimp tacos, it says shrimps/blackened shrimp tacos. So obviously this is the shrimp that everybody makes at level 1 cooking, but you want to kind of eat more than just plain Jane shrimp, I'd imagine.
Yes.
How would you, and this is not a scripted question, folks, but how would you feel your cooking XP went up when you did this, if anything?
Definitely hit level 3.
Fair enough.
Chef's Guild, here you come.
That's right. And Dark, we go to you next with the choc chip crunchies, otherwise known as the chocolate chip cookies. What made you decide to go with this recipe?
I think, well, when cookies, it's hard to go wrong with a cookie, right?
Right.
So I thought,
it's
basically a solid recipe to start off with. Give it a guide. If you can't make a good cookie, then that gives you an idea what the rest of the book's going to be like. And I am pleased to report we made a good cookie.
A good number of them too, from what I could see with the pictures that you provided on there with that.
Yes.
So.
Well, the recipe says it estimates it should make. Let's have a look here. I think it said 5 dozen, and I don't think I hit 5 dozen. I don't think I hit 5 dozen. So I don't know how small I should have been making them, but I thought I'm making dark size cookies that I'm eating. They're for me, so I'm fine with that.
Okay, so. I have a general idea of what goes into chocolate chip cookies. Did they call for anything different on these, or what does the general recipe look like for these, like the ingredients?
It's a pretty standard recipe. I come to this with a sort of European mindset because
sure.
the American cookie is something beautiful, and I love the brown sugar you get in that. I like that sort of extra flavour you get from that compared to what we would call a biscuit. I know that's a whole other conversation to have, but I know I really enjoyed this recipe. There is one thing on it though, and I'm going to have to ask you from a different perspective again. When you're measuring butter, I'm aware that you measure with tablespoons, but at what point do you transfer from tablespoons to sticks of butter?
I measure in cups.
Okay.
Usually recipes will always use, my wife will use stick butter for recipes, and regular butter if she's just adding it, a bit.
Because most of the ones I see are measured in cups, and even when you buy the cube of butter here, it's got markings on the package. I was going to say, for what is a cup and a quarter cup and so on and so forth. I don't think I've ever measured with sticks.
Right.
Well, the sticks have lines on them too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my question, because this book doesn't do that. But in here, we would measure in grams, so that's quite standard. It calls for tablespoons, and some of the recipes have a unique quirk in how many tablespoons they ask for. This particular recipe calls for 12 tablespoons of butter. And I wondered if perhaps, at what point do you go from tablespoons to tablespoons to grams, and respectively perhaps cups?
Well, a quick Google tells me that 12 tablespoons US is approximately 3/4 of a cup.
Right. But that was the only unusual thing to me about that. But with regards to additional sort of ingredients, it's very bog standard cookie sort of recipe. One thing, though, that is interesting about most recipes in this book, and it doesn't really add anything to the recipe, but you'll find on most recipes there's like an additional little ingredient added to most of the recipes.
Okay, so something to add that RuneScape flair?
Yes, it's a fantasy recipe, so I'm not expecting to be able to find gnome spice, but it's listed there, and that's a nice bit of flavour, sort of flavour text to the
So what does that
recipe.
come out to then? What is gnome spice? What does it tell you to make gnome spice of?
It doesn't give you any. It's sort of. It doesn't tell you. So there's some things, for example, if I look at the next page, festive gingerbread gnomes, it asks for, in the fantasy recipe ingredient, 24 cut sapphires. For the eyes, mind you.
That's interesting. So let me just put my spin on this then. You can tell me how I would do with that. For the gnome spice, I'm imagining something of a cross between nutmeg and cinnamon.
Yeah, something like you'd probably put in gingerbread, something like that.
Yeah. And for the sapphires, I'm just going to say, blue gummy bears or something to that effect.
I was thinking blueberries, or maybe like just icing sugar coloured blue.
Okay. And so do all the recipes have that unique fantasy flair to that, or just some of them?
I think it's all of them. If I look to the cake 4 ways recipe, it calls for, I'm going to mispronounce this, I am so sorry, 3 new leaves clean landtime. That famous herb, that one. Or if I flick to another random recipe, such as stuffed snake, it asks for 1 big snake.
Tannis?
No, you can't have mine.
I'm sorry. Tannis keeps a pet snake. Okay.
That's what I was
Did you
thinking
make
of.
the infernal sauce for the shrimp tacos drama free?
I did, yeah.
Okay. And obviously that was your fantasy ingredient there. Do you like spice?
I do not like spice.
Okay. All right. I just had to pivot back to that because I had to ask about the infernal sauce. But so how did the cookies compare? How did the chocolate chip cookies compare to what you would normally have for a chocolate chip cookie, I guess?
I'd say it's a pretty solid cookie. There wasn't anything in the flavour that made me go, ooh, that's unusual. This is more of a European thing. It calls for sort of coarse sea salt or kosher salt, as you'd call it. And we wouldn't normally have that in a biscuit over here, but I quite liked it. I thought it has a little pop of saltiness to balance.
Oh, that's
the sweetness.
interesting. That's interesting.
So
you don't
like
normally
that.
have that in cookies and whatnot over there.
No, that's very much something that's I'd say North American inspiration.
It is. It definitely is. It definitely is. I was gonna say that because I think back to baking things in general, and I know it's more than a 50-50 shot, I feel, to see something. Oh yeah, just add a half teaspoon of salt to the recipe or a pinch of salt to the recipe. So very.
We might
nice.
have a little bit of table salt, just a small pinch, but actual like coarse salt. So that,
Yeah, I don't think
take it to a bite, you get that pop. We wouldn't normally have that. Which is
I
nice.
don't think I've done
It's
that.
made something different.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind for chocolate chip cookies, I guess. Just in general, or the choc chip crunchies as we're calling them here today. So very nice. Next up, we have the spicy stew, which is really just yellow coconut curry, isn't it, Drama Free?
It is. I think what Dark said about it didn't blow, it wasn't anything special or different, but blew her away. That's kind of how I felt about both of the recipes that I cooked or that we're talking about.
Okay.
Because these are very like, hey, you can cook this and be successful.
Yeah, so what goes into a yellow coconut curry, aside from, obviously, the coconut here?
Yeah, good question. So you've got some coconut milk, and I like that they actually kind of give you like a little tip, like goop the coconut fat from both cans of the coconut milk. Like sometimes it's like, oh, put the coconut milk in. How much? How many am I doing? You asked me for 2. Am I doing 1? So they kind of tell you like both of them right away. Of course, you've got your yellow curry, your golden potatoes, 900 grams of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I substituted the chicken thighs for tofu.
Okay, that's
which
fair.
is a really good substitute for any type of like chicken. And you can still cut them into bite-sized chunks. And I like that they didn't say like half inch or 1 inch, or I don't even know what the not American version of that would be.
Dark.
Sorry, I misheard there.
Like
If
if they told me half inch or half inch chunks of chicken.
Oh, I think you'd be going straight into centimeters then.
Okay. Because they do a lot of conversions, 900 grams, they put 2 pounds. So they would have to do more conversions for that. So they're just like bite-sized pieces, which is cool, right? Whatever my bite-sized piece is, right? I can't really mess it up. It's kind of like a painting.
And my question for you, as somebody who doesn't eat many curries, is how did this compare ingredient wise to other curries? I'm assuming you have probably made before.
Yeah, I think your yellow curry is your most basic, like simple. Everybody is going to enjoy it curry. It's a little bit sweet, a little savory. It's perfect for someone who doesn't eat curry much.
Okay, and probably that's why they went with this in the recipe then.
Yeah, absolutely.
How spicy was it? Because they say spicy stew. How spicy was it on the scale?
This is not spicy at all. Like
Okay.
This is like if you went to a restaurant, this is your 0 spice of 10.
All right, fair enough. And any other notable ingredients that go into it aside from the coconut, the tofu, spice?
Well, you put a pinch of smelling salts in it.
Okay.
That's your fantasy item.
Okay. And what did you use for that?
Oh, I have a gym in my basement, so I just went down there. I opened up my smelling salts, just took a nice whiff of that and went back upstairs and started cooking.
Oh God, that's a way to do it. That's a way to do it.
Not for nothing, but you can buy those. Like, do you think anyone would be
Like, right, and that's the thing. Do you think anybody would actually put smelling salts in the curry?
Yeah, that's kind of my question.
Well, I mean, people do it with, I think, essential oils, and that's not recommended. Please don't do that. But, I mean, maybe.
I mean, I work with the public, so I feel like someone's gonna do that, probably.
But here's a question. How far do you take a fantasy item like that? Like,
But that's the
how
thing,
far
it's not
do
a
you
fantasy
take that?
item.
No.
Well, I'm not putting sapphires in my food. That's a good start.
Yeah, right? I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
But
I
it's
don't
like
know. I don't know,
little
man.
bit more beneficial if they put something maybe like dandelions or something, because those are edible.
Nettle tea. That's a real life equivalent tea you can have, but it's also RuneScape affiliated. It could be fantasy.
is the nettle tea in the book?
It is not. But we do have a beverage section. But
Okay.
it's all alcoholic, I think.
Yeah, I did look at that.
Yeah, it's tough. It is.
I was wondering if any of you were going to bring that to the podcast, but you did not. That might have been an interesting one to talk about, in particular the poison chalice. But
Well, I'll jump to the beverages a little bit because I do home brewing, and there is a homebrew beer in here.
oh, okay,
Nuh-uh.
okay. Tanis is interested.
Yeah.
Which one is it? Is it the Asgarnian Ale?
It is the Asgardian Ale.
Well, you got. I mean,
All right, we
talk
gotta
to me. Talk to me, drama.
talk about this as an extra honorable mention. So what do you got for that one?
So I haven't done it, but I want to. It's a very hopsy beer. The instructions are, let's see, it is 2 sentences long, and the last sentence is, "Don't forget the gold coin."
So so it's not telling you like any of the. It's not telling you what grains to use or what
It
hops
does. So
you're
it
using?
tells you. So with this, that when you homebrew, it gives you the mixture of the grain and the hops and the yeast to use.
Mm-hmm.
And there's let's see, four different types of hops, a London English ale yeast, and you use honey for fermenting it, so it's a little sweeter, and you use a golden light dry. Wait, let's see.
Pardon us as we just looked through the cookbook here, and that's entirely fine. I do wish I had a visual reference of that, but I don't know what that would do
That's
for
funny. I wonder
copyright.
what's the ABV they put on that? 'Cause, I mean, honey is rocket fuel when you're home brewing. Right?
Actually, your ABV is 5.6, so a very mild.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's mild. There must not be a lot of honey.
And it's
I've made the
interesting
mistake of using too much honey before, and it's like, woohoo!
Oh yeah, I've made
Let's go.
a few bombs before in my closet. It's not fun to clean up.
No.
That would be the Wizard's Mind Bomb then, wouldn't it?
Well, this can definitely turn into a Wizard Mind Bomb if you put too much honey as you're fermenting them. It's how you get your carbonization. The yeast finally starts eating up that honey, so then it's making carbonization. And if you put too much, then you make a small bomb.
Well, Tanis, I think you need to buy the book, and I think you need to do some brewing and report back to us now.
Yeah, I may have to bring. I may have to get the band back together. Yeah. Yeah, I've had a few bombs. Well, I've only had one bomb. It was my fault though.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first or second go around.
Oh no. I was well versed by then, but I was making a 90-minute IPA that I called the Honey Badger because it didn't care, and neither did you after a few. And but it was a very high ABV, and I was like sitting watching a movie, my wife and I, and we hear this. It's like, oh,
what happened?
The honey badger's loose.
Yeah. Well, luckily in my case, I always used ale pails, which are like kind of 5-gallon buckets, and then I would use an airlock because I was really leery of using a glass carboy because of things like this. So it basically blew the lid off and just hops and just there's particulate in it, like and it's just everywhere. It was just everywhere. Yeah.
Well, so that's where the Asgarnian Ale turns into the chemistry experiment, folks.
Yeah.
I want you.
It sounds good though.
I want you to do this now, Tanis.
I kind of want to, like, so my favorite all-time beer in the world is an English. I think it's an English beer. I'm pretty sure, but it's Newcastle. And my pursuit in home brewing was to make something that tasted like Newcastle. I was never able to succeed because it turns out it's a blended ale. So it's actually two different ales that they blend together, which was way more than I was going to do. But the yeast that he talked about, I'm betting it's more of a brown ale. There's probably some darker grains in there too. No, this sounds tasty. I'm actually it's actually the kind of stuff that I used to make.
You've got yourself a mini quest now.
Yeah, that's it. The mini quest within the episode. And to get back to the main quest on that, how did the spicy stew and coconut curry turn out? Was it good? Would you make it again, just like the shrimp? Or?
Oh, absolutely. It's just your staple go-to stew that you can, a curry that you can add on to and make it as in-depth and flavorful and complicated that you want. Or as throw it together in 15 minutes, have it on the table in 15, 20 minutes.
Nice. And what I'm getting from that then is that there's a whole spectrum of what you're able to do with these recipes, which I think is good because keep in mind, you're selling this book you're marketing this book to gamers. We'll, see how many RuneScape folks buy it versus, how many people in the community have cooking experience like the both of you do. So.
Well, and yeah, with that, we'll get to it a little later, but I picked 2 novice recipes, and there's only 3 of the master recipes in this book. Right. It's very much built for everyday use.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about difficulty index on that. And where exactly do the Ugthanki Camel Kebabs then fall, Dark? In terms
Where do you
of,
think they fall?
I don't know. Master?
Novice.
No. Wow. Okay. So let's start out here. Everybody knows the Ugthanki Kebab in RS. How does this go in real life, and what kind of ingredients are we looking at?
So our Ugthanki kebab is a spiced lamb kebab or kebab. And it's so I don't know how prevalent kebabs are in the North American scene, but
Not very.
your top typical lads' night out is you wash it down with a nice kebab. But you go out, you go with the lads, you get yourself a kebab, a beer. That's where we get our drunken dwarf stereotype from. That is actually British culture, funnily enough.
I can imagine.
So for us, I have a particular sort of I have a certain sort of flavour in mind when I have a kebab, and that's the doner kebab, which is sort of like, it's meat which you sort of shave off into long slices. You have that with some pita bread, normally some salad, something else on the side, that sort of thing. And that you can have different types of meat. I remember being lamb, so this matches up well. And I have to say, this recipe, these sort of herbs and spices they give to you in this recipe to match up with all things, it emulates that flavour very well. So they've achieved that. Yeah,
just looking at the ingredients, garlic, shallot, coriander or cilantro, coarse kosher salt again, ground cumin, ground coriander, and of course black pepper on that. That sounds like a very, very tasty mixture there.
And it is. I will say that lamb is generally quite a fatty meat.
Okay. And
when you're cooking this, just as Drama Free said, you get an option here to either do it by sort of, they can do a chimney starter charcoal thing, you can do it at the barbecue, a grill. I did it in the oven grill because I live in a little flat with no garden, so that's what I had access to. And in that way, it shows that it's accessible. So even if you don't have access to, say, a grill out in the barbecue, you can still do these recipes. My only thought is if you did it, say, on with the charcoal or on the barbecue, you probably get an extra smokiness, which you didn't get here. And I think perhaps if you did it on a hotter flame, like a live flame with charcoals, you're probably going to get some more of that fat draining away, possibly.
Right. That makes sense.
So my recipe sort of outcome here was perhaps a little fattier than I'd like, but I respect that that's probably from the method I've used.
And see, that's interesting because when it came to the shrimp tongue, because Drama Free mentioned the charcoal, whereas you went with the oven on the grill there, and I'm betting you had a very positive experience at the end of this.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I tried to produce. It says it can produce 8 skewers. I have 4 very long skewers, so I did sort of 2 to a skewer, so that did produce 8. So that was an accurate sort of representation of what I was going to produce. Flavour was definitely there, and it did make me think of the traditional doner kebab. Although this is more like I think they call it a seek kebab. It's more like a log of meat as opposed to sort of shaved thin slices.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I can see that from the photo. They almost look like, dare I say it, meatball form factor shape in there.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, no. So they're more like that, and you got your pita bread. You cut it open, you put it inside the pita bread, rather than wrapping it inside. And it comes with salad. And they have a recipe for harissa yogurt thing, which makes use of that red hot sauce sort of recipe, which we have in the cookbook. I admit,
the infernal sauce.
That's it. I think so. Let me double check that. So it's page 34, and I think it is. I'm going to say it is, and I'll find out. No, this is a separate one. So there's another I think there's more than one hot sauce in here. You've got the infernal hot sauce, but this is the red hot sauce. But this is good. It's also accurate to what to the law. I'm not going to pronounce it correctly either. This is polnovich. This is what you would get in the quest to upset that poor camel. I'm sure remember. So that is that hot sauce. We have that hot sauce here.
What is in the hot sauce, out of curiosity? I want to compare it to some of the other hot sauces I use.
So many chilies.
Okay.
Let me read it. So this is some chilies here. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of. That is guajillo chilies, pasilla chilies, Kashmiri chilies, arbol chilies. Then we've got cumin, coriander, caraway seeds, tomato paste, garlic, red peppers, some juice and zest of a lemon, paprika, salt, extra virgin olive oil, and it does mention, if you have it at hand, some squirk juice. So if you've got some, or if you have Osman on hand to go and get some squirk juice, then you're
First thing that comes to mind for squirk for me is lemon lime.
Yeah, and we've got lemon in it, so if you just add a little bit of lime in there, you probably achieved that. Yeah.
Okay, that's neat. And overall, how would you say this compared to other kebabs that you've had before?
Like I said, it was perhaps a little fattier than I'd like, but again, I think that's just down to me doing it on the oven grill. But then again, the kebab is a fatty meal. I'm saying this, not as a snob. It is, that is why it is the perfect meal to have after a night out. That greasiness, that fat, it just sort of does sober you up a little bit.
You had me at greasiness. I mean,
so I'm not complaining about the greasiness. So that's what you really sort of want with the beer. But no, it was nice. It was nice, and I do like lamb. I like minted lamb probably more.
Yeah, that's common.
But this particular combination of spices and herbs it provides, and I did it with I brought my own hot sauce, I have to admit, because it was hotter than what I thought it might be with this, and I didn't have access to all those chilies, so I didn't want to go for a subpar chili and not achieve it. Fair enough. And it made me go, oh. It was hot, and I found the hot sauce probably does portion control. If you do enough of it, you go, one's enough, thank you.
I would probably have to say more because I love my spicy food myself. But
I love a good hot sauce. I love a good curry. I love a hot curry. Jalfrezi's all me.
Nice. Well,
spice isn't a problem, but that was
a little bit too much.
I mean, my sinuses were clear afterwards.
That's a good way of putting it. And for me personally, I love that feeling when you eat something like that and it just waves over you through the sinuses and whatnot. But sounds good. That's 4 recipes. I'm very pleased that you guys seem to have had a good time with that. We're gonna discuss a little bit more about the cookbook in just a few moments, but I want to thank some Patreon supporters for enabling us to do what we do here each and every week. This week, I'd like to thank Alvaro L., Amos Reed, Andrew C., Arvids L., Chubura, Daniel W., Dominic R., Drama Free, Duramax, Gila Fleur, Jacob G., Jade Gizmo, Jason S., Jeebus, Jesse W., Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Parnassius, Ren Honk, Ricky A., Rippeth, Runestar, Samuel F.L., Scott D.S., Shirt Pants, The Naked Captain, The Dab and Goat, Tim, Tom V, Truth Ray, Ukulele Steve, Zant, and Zaza Khan. And of course, if you're wondering what all this is about, you can head over to patreon.com/RSBANDB, and that's where you can support the podcast monetarily if you so desire and want to help the show grow. And we have 3 tiers available, starting from as little as $1 a month, and if you support for that, you get a mention in the show notes each and every week. And you also gain access to an entire back catalog now of 70-plus monthly bits. Those are bonus shows that we do each and every month. We're presently polling for the next one that's going to be happening. Patreon members are voting in that, and they have the option this month to choose between the Executive Producer's Legacy, temporary game modes in RuneScape, and what went wrong with the 6th Age. So there's 3 different choices there that people get to vote for, and maybe we'll discuss one of those as we head on into the next month. Our last monthly bit was talking about abandoned content. What happened to things like the Church of You? What happened to Skilling Offhands, the Avatar rework, expansions, and of course the quest that shall not be named, Rite of Passage? What happened to all of those, and what would RuneScape be like had those updates came to pass? If you want to hear about any of those, sign up over at patreon.com/RSBANDB. RSBANB. We also do have the VIP tier where for $3 a month, you'll receive a special chat channel and rank on Discord, as well as access to high-quality stereo versions of the podcast. And for $5 a month, you'll receive a shout-out on the show each and every week and gain exclusive access to the outtakes that we use to make the clip show at the end of the year. And that also, of course, enables you to receive the RSBNB Update Christmas card in December if you opt into shipping info. But patreon.com/RSBNB. Thanks so much, everybody. It means the world to us. And I just want to check in, actually, on how our poll is doing for this right now. Because I put this up yesterday. And presently, what went wrong with the 6 ages winning with 53% of the votes? That's going to be a fun one if that passes. But all right, we've been going around the cookbook here. Any other recipes that you guys want to share from the cookbook? I know I asked you to each pick 2, but is there anything on the top of your hat that you guys want to mention recipe wise before we move on to wrapping up the cookbook? Either of you? No?
I cooked one for our challenge.
What did you make for that?
I made I think was it red snapper?
And
That'd be it.
And what does that what does that have in it?
I gotta find my greasy page book.
Yeah,
page that's all highlighted up.
And while you're doing that, Dark, how is the current RuneScape cook-off here going with that? And how did you notice any increase in interest since you had the cookbook this time for that?
I found we've had more interest from new members this time, so that's really nice. It depends. I think it depends on theme, because the themes do change. I try to not sort of revisit things. I try to keep them fresh. Sometimes it's seasonal. Sometimes, if it's hot weather, I'm trying to go for something that you might, if you have access to a barbecue, that's quite nice, or something that's cooler, more fruit based, that sort of thing.
Nice.
And it's been nice having this one. So I think you did. Yes, you did. You mentioned it on the one of the previous podcasts.
Yeah,
and we had interest from members from your podcast.
Yeah,
which is really nice to see.
I think we probably sent a few members your way for that, so it'll be interesting to see what they cook up. And I am eagerly awaiting once people start posting their they're not allowed to post their finished things until the cook-off is done, right?
That's right. So they can definitely, I encourage them to talk about their process, to post pictures as they're doing it, that sort of things. I love seeing the process. But it's sort of at the end, so once we've hit that timer, after a month point, when they sort of do a big reveal, show what we've all been up to, and get to have a discussion, ask people what they've thought about their recipes. And I really quite enjoy listening to people. What have they done? What do they think they could do better? Or what do they substitute? And how do they think they've improved the recipes? That's what I really like hearing, that ingenuity.
Right, and just putting personal spin on it with that. And I think when it's done, I'll give it a mention on the podcast and see how things turned out, given that we talked about it when you announced and now the cookbook, so it just makes sense to follow it through and close the loop on that. But Drama Free, do you have the recipe up for your cook-off?
Yes, I do. The thing, I've said this a bunch. I love how simple the instructions are. The first one is the exact same of how do you light a charcoal grill, right? How do you start in charcoal? And then the second one is talking to you about, what to do while your charcoal is getting hot and turning into that, gray, white, hot ash. And it's very simple, right? It's 4 bowl red snappers. You use some natural oils, and I love that they do this. It's like such as rapeseed or canola, sunflower. I use extra virgin olive oil, right? Or avocado oil, and some cilantro, some dill, some lemon. And then I love on some of the pages, there's this gentleman in a white chef hat, and he gives you a little tip.
Oh, that's neat.
He's like, to cook the snapper in an oven, this is how you do it, right? So you preheat it to 220 degrees Celsius. How hot is that? Okay, so it's 425.
Does it have the Fahrenheit conversions listed there?
It does, right next to it, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, and see that's an interesting thing about Canada is that we're 1 foot in the British world and 1 foot in the American world. Our ovens and most of our cooking instructions are American based, but other measurements like temperature and whatnot is Celsius. So go figure with that. But it sounds like the both of you had a wonderful time with the cookbook and your recipes. Is there any sort of final closing impressions of the cookbook you'd like to share? Let's start with you, Dark. What has been your just general impression of it?
I found generally, sort of stepping away from the recipes themselves, the actual production of the book has been lovely. Like, it's a beautiful hardbook book. It's very sturdy, glossy cover, lovely photos. But two things I would like to point out, just because I like them so much, is that at the back you've got a conversion chart. So you've got all those in the back, just in case you want to just flick to them so you have them to hand. But they have a dietary considerations page, which is really nice. So it tells you, it lists all the different recipes and it ticks different things, whether or not it's gluten-free, non-dairy, vegan, vegetarian. So that's good. Sometimes you go to a restaurant, they might do something similar.
Yeah,
it's really nice to see that.
Do they make any special consideration for the allergies that can kill people, like the nut allergies and whatnot?
That's what I was looking for as well. And they haven't mentioned the deadly nut allergies, and drama-free, you might have gone through the book and spotted it, but I haven't seen any nuts mentioned actually in this book.
Oh, to be honest, I don't see nuts in any of the recipes I would typically see nuts in.
No, I don't think there is any. We might
Is that
be wrong.
a conscious choice then? I wonder.
Maybe.
Interesting, because I know, because that's the first place my mind went when you were mentioning dietary considerations, because allergies like that is always something that they're going to ask you first at a restaurant, and when you're making something, and if you're making for a group, that's the first thing you will ask as well, and that's why I went there with that. But that's very interesting that neither of you guys have seen any nut content in the entire book. Fascinating. Drama Free, what's your final roundup of the cookbook?
Yeah, my final thought. I have never done this before with a cookbook, but I actually flipped through and I did see the conversion charts, which I loved. And this is the book I'm going to go to when I have that thought of what is this to this. But before that, it's about the author, and it's got a little biography about him, right? So, like, what did he do? Why did they choose him for this cookbook? And kind of the things that he does. So he's not only but a chef, he's a writer. He's also writes comic books, and I think that's a really good.
Interesting.
That is one of the ways probably they chose this chef and author, because he can understand those, connecting to an audience, right?
Like the fantasy elements, he can have a foot in the world on that.
Exactly. Yes. I just loved that. I've never done that with a cookbook before. And so that was surprising to me that I sought out to find out who is the author, who did this. Is it multiple people? So I loved that about it. And I've got to say what Dark mentioned, the quality of the book for the price is phenomenal. I have right now $22 on Amazon for this. Is a no-brainer for me.
And what you're getting for it, that's almost a steal at that price.
I would say, because when I think of a cookbook, I think of, you go to your grandmother's house and she pulls out this 700-page cookbook that's flipped through. It's got 1,000 tabs in it. It used to have white pages. Now it has yellowish pages. Yeah. This is very elegant and beautiful. Something I want to display, but also use, because of, like Dark said, these glossy pages. If I spill something on this, I'm totally comfortable grabbing a paper towel or napkin, a washcloth, and wiping it off. and I'm not worried about damaging the book. That's a big thing for me, right? And I don't worry about using in my eyes, a collector's item, a novice item for a video game, instead of buying some DLC or some cosmetic, outfit in a game. I have a physical item that I'm using.
Yeah. And, I feel like it's just so good that Jagex has, jumped on that and continued that with the books that they published, because that was, pretty much the same sort of thing that we had with the 20-year book, is that, they're just such immaculate quality with that. But this has been the Cooking Guild on RSBANDB update. Tanis, anything else before we move on, cooking wise, questions, ale wise?
No, actually, I've asked all of the things that I was very curious about.
Right on then.
Yep.
And anything else from either of you, Dark or Drama Free, before we move on to the dinosaur?
One last thing to mention.
Sure.
There is a cosmetic. There is a cosmetic linked in with his books, and it's a very nice cosmetic in-game.
Did you claim that? Are you wearing it?
I have claimed it, and I proudly wore it for my last Fort Forentry quest to go and, well, I can't spoil things too much, but I went and spoke to the prisoner and perhaps antagonised him.
Oh, we've talked about that already on the show. You can say Zemerigo.
I went and spoke to Zemerigo and I said, hey, are you aware there's a new cookbook out? So Zemerigo is well informed, and don't worry, I will be making sure that we go through the book, because I've got a captive audience.
Oh, that's perfect. Drama Free, anything else from you?
No, I think we did a great job of summing it up in a bit of a teaser.
Right on then. Moving on, we do have the dev blog for OCS coming Tuesday because it is a bank holiday on Monday in the UK. With this came out a dev blog from Mod Ramen and Mod Camel, and a very nice looking dog that managed to provide some extra context and clarity towards this upcoming boss release. And this is a mid-level boss, follows on from the last Rex Matriarchs, and that's why I feel comfortable discussing this here. Do I have any takers next week for people who are going to go and have some fun at OCS?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I don't know if I'll have fun, but we'll see.
Okay. All right.
I hope.
Dark,
Let's
Drama
give it a
Free?
go.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I'm going to go. I'm going to learn and have some fun and use some necromancy.
Yeah, because that's the interesting thing, is that, aside from Hermod and Raziel, when Vorkath came out, you could, use whatever combat style you wanted to on Vorkath. Of course, you were going to have better luck with necromancy, but Raziel and Hermod were designed to be taken down with necromancy, and as is tradition with the Rex Matriarchs, if you lean into the weakness that those bosses are weak to, you're going to have better results on that, and that's what OCS is designed to do here, is to provide you a mid-level bossing experience to use your necromancy skills for this. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but for Dark and Drama's Free sake, I feel comfortable with assigning you both the moniker of mid-level PVMer. Does that sound okay to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Now, how has your experience been, I guess, with the other Rex Matriarchs?
I did all of them when they first came out. It was fun and very mid-level player. I was even more of a mid-level player. So, learning mechanics, they were before the Archglacier, right?
Right.
So I pretty much started with them, killing them and trying to get some loot. But, really the only thing that came out was the rings. So, you buff the rings, right?
Yeah, they provided the upgrades for the Dagannoth King rings.
Yeah. So then Archglacier came out and I was like, oh yeah, this is my jam. This is what I wanted them to be.
Right, we had you on for that episode.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Dark, are you looking forward to anything specific with Osius, things you might be interested in trying, PVM related things with this boss?
I think it's going to be nice doing sort of a mid-level boss for necromancy, so you can sort of learn your mechanics better. Because currently, and I might be wrong, the only sort of main necromancy boss we have is Raziel and Hermod.
Right.
And they're sort of, well, I don't know about Hermod, but Raziel is certainly higher level. So it's going to be nice to have something that's a little bit more casual, something just to get more comfortable with your setup and sort of get into the rhythm of learning your mechanics, which is, something I need to do. So it's going to be a nice thing to sort of get used to.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably going to be, one step above Hermod and several below Raziel based on where those land. Tanis, what are your thoughts going into this before we are able to get our hands on this boss?
I'm looking. I think I'll be able to do it. I don't think that I won't, but as in with everything else, I'm sure I will eat and eat and eat and probably have short trips, but I think I can do it. I'm confident.
All right. And I guess the biggest question, since we've been talking about your PVM stuff since last week with high contrast mode, it'd be interesting to see how that works in. But are you thinking you're going to go in with tank armor or power to begin with?
I'll go in with tank necromancy.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And we will, of course, have the full combat panel on to discuss that next week. And some other more controversial things that were listed in the Right Click Examine blog, like, I don't know, maybe changing the way some abilities like Concentrated Blast and whatnot work with two-handed and dual-wield weapons. But before we get too far down that track, we do also have the Occultist's Ring, which is another necromancy ring slot. So we have, after this update, we're going to have 3 very competitive rings for necromancy. Of course, the Reaver's at the very high end, which is a blanket crit chance improvement. Then we have Zorgoth's Ring from After Requiem for a Dragon that, in effect, lets you gather souls and builds your buffs your soul spending abilities. But this Occultist's Ring, it's going to have 5 less necromancy damage than Zorgoth's. It's going to have a prayer bonus associated with it, and necromancy attacks will have a 10% chance to generate 2 necrosis stacks with each cast. So again, I think the thing that's really interesting about this, and we'll dive more into this after we get our hands on it, I'm hoping to get one of these, is that it provides a horizontal level of progression through this, whereas you have in effect 3 good ring choices. I don't necessarily know that this will displace Reavers, but it's certainly an interesting thing to think about again in the Slayer category, and maybe even the casual bossing category with that. So I'm very much looking forward to the reward on that ring wise. Anybody looking forward to the boss pets, the little dinosaurs that people have been wanting, which you'll be able to get with jail keys? I know. I feel like ever since 120 farming came out, that's what people had always asked for from Anachronia there. Like the little baby dinosaur pets. But we never really had a chance to get them before.
They sort of look like plush toy pets, but they're not. They're just so cute.
Yeah.
I think anything that looks like Rexar from Rugrats is good for me.
You're going to have to fill me in. I don't know that reference.
No, the Rugrats, the 90s show as a child.
Yeah, I didn't watch that. I didn't watch that.
Small little dinosaur.
Okay. Is that the skeleton one?
No, he's just a green dinosaur.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
Halloween Rugrats. Ooh.
I have a feeling I'm missing out on something here. Tanis, did you watch that show, or is that after?
I know what it
time?
is. I mean, it was after my time, but yeah, I know.
Okay, fair
I know
enough.
Rugrats.
So based
from
on
the era.
So based on that, then it should have been right in the middle of my time, and I'm guessing I was just watching or doing other things at the time.
Yeah, you were probably more of a Doug kid, Shane. I could
Didn't
see you
watch
watching
that.
Doug.
Didn't watch that
okay.
either. No.
Hey,
Power
Arnold.
Ranger though, weren't you?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
What do they have up there?
I'm sure we had all those, but I was probably already well into my Star Trek kick by that point.
Rugrat's made its way to the UK, but these other ones I've only sort of become more aware of as I've gotten older and spoken to other people. We didn't have Hey Arnold or anything like that.
And that's always interesting to think of. And when you look at some of the UK shows that have made their way over here from that era, they just look weird. No offense on that.
No offense taken. They are weird.
Yeah. Anyways, given the fact we're on kids shows instead of OCS, I believe that's probably time to start moving things along then. But expect the full combat panel next week and more on that. And I was watching the Right Click Examine live stream this week, and if there's anybody out there who would be interested in coming on the podcast for PVM related things, because the sense I got is that we're going to be seeing more PVM in the coming months and intervening years about this. If you're interested in appearing on the podcast and you do PVM either at the mid-level, or you have an interest and you're just starting out, or hey, even if you're at the very high end level of PVM, do let us know about that and head on over to update.show/help and fill out the help wanted form right there. Do include your name, what time zone you reside in, and do check off the PVM box so we know to contact you in relation to PVM related things, and then I'll reach out and see where things land on that. But update.show/help, we are looking to pad out the PVM roster, as I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot more PVM in the coming months and years ahead. Update.show/help. So what have we been doing this week with Double XP? Let's start with you. Drama Free.
Yeah, so I've been doing a bit of archaeology. I need to hit 86 so that I can continue the necromancy quest line, so that I can change from the basic rotation to what's the more advanced one? Blood pack, blood something.
Right. Okay. And with that, do you have anything that you're specifically looking forward to, soul or incantation wise, along the way?
No, I just have to research and figure out that. But I hit 100 necromancy, so it's a time to, get those quests done so that I can, kill Hermod faster. I need to get those plates a little faster than I'm getting them now. 1 minute kill times aren't the best.
And archaeology too is just a really wonderful skill when you pair it with necromancy and you just look kind of into the past to see what was around and whatnot on there.
Yeah, I think it's really actually fun because I know archaeology is like it's very favoritive.
It's revered.
Yeah. And to have to be doing that with necromancy is really fun to, in my opinion, like do the two favorite skills right now. In probably the last 5 to 7 years together is really fun.
And I was wondering about that when I did that Tomes of the Warlord quest, and I was thinking, is this necromancy being good, or is this just my love of archaeology rubbing off on necromancy? That was the sense I had in that. I don't know if you felt something similar with that.
Well, for me, I think it's fun, and you and I talked about this previously, about having a quest that, you need to achieve a goal to, because that's everything in RuneScape, right? Like, achieve this goal, do the next thing, achieve this goal, do the next thing. And for the quest to be related and to be able to okay, so this is cool. So I'm really good at necro. I need to increase my archaeology, and then I get to learn these different dig sites, and, oh, so this is why this is here. Oh, so they had maybe already planned this out. It kind of gives you, or at least me, instead of space barring through a lot of stuff, stop, look around, and actually read the dialogue, no matter however long it takes me, right? And then, listen to RSBANDB, where they go more in depth about it. And that's what I've grown to love.
And then maybe that's an inspiration along the way to, continue on and uncover more secrets of archaeology.
Exactly.
Have you got to everybody's favorite Trindine mystery in in the Zaros dig site?
No, I have not. I've only done the Darnzig site very little.
Okay. That's going to be a fun one, especially if you like puzzles, and it might be a little bit painful if you don't like puzzles. But in any case, Tannis, how's your double XP been going?
It's been going fine. I mean, you're not gonna believe this, but I'm just kind of working on my boss log still. Got 2 items that are very stubborn.
Do you have your timer paused, or are you just letting it tick down?
No, I mean, I might as well get XP. Might as well get double XP. You know, double necromancy XP.
Do we have the budding sense of a PVMer here? Is what I'm wondering.
I'm not going there. I mean, we'll see what happens next week. We'll see what happens next week.
I'll tell you, don't commit to boss log drops unless you really like that boss. Because I committed to that with Raziel at about 150 KC, and I was there till almost 1300. It could have been longer, but oh boy.
Just if you want that Necro XP, double XP, and high contrast, go try some rituals, buddy.
Yeah, you should do that, Tannis, before it runs down after that discussion last week on that.
You're about 2.2 mil with double XP.
Whoa.
An hour.
That feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to switch gears now.
He's been convinced.
That's the buttons to push. God darn it!
I know how much you love the XP from your skilling days like that.
Yes.
Next time we hear, you're gonna be like, I don't get enough defiles, guys.
Dark, how's your double XP been going?
It's been a quiet one. I have to be honest. I've achieved most of my goals in general. I'm slowly working towards my 120 for herbology and necromancy. So I've just been taking it slow, taking it easy, not trying to rush anything. And if I don't achieve any more levels of DXP, I'm happy. So I've made some nice progress.
All right. What general kind of goals are you working towards right now?
Yeah, it is most. I'm trying to get my 120s. So I want to get all of my my actual 120s, and then afterwards, I don't even know what I'm going to start looking at. Virtual 120s, and I don't know which one I'm going to start with first. I think I'm going to end up doing fishing, which is because I've accidentally hit, I think, 108 passively through daily challenges. So it feels like a good place to start.
Yeah, and if it's your highest, you could do that. I know. For me personally, I'm going in the order that I got my first 99s, which is going to pose some problems after when it comes time to train the legacy combat styles. But is there anything else you'd like to share RuneScape-wise that you've been up to?
And this is where I'm sort of dipping my toes into the water a bit. I've started sort of more seriously playing old school RuneScape.
Ooh.
I'm very low level still. I'm a baby player, so. I used to play back in 2007, the actual 2007. So
back when old school was the RuneScape.
Yeah, when that was RuneScape, I remember the black sort of sky. I remember walking everywhere because your run energy depleted that quickly. So it's been really nice and refreshing to go back, and a real nostalgia sort of kick for me. And I'm excited about the new content as well. And so I've been told, as an avid quester, that there's some really nice, unique quests.
Oh yeah, definitely. Garden of Death and Guardians of the Rift. Those are two very quintessential OSRS quests that you should do when you have the ability to do that. Temple of the Eye is the quest that unlocks Guardians of the Rift, but Temple of the Eye and Garden of Death, two very quintessential OSRS quests that really just, I feel from my perspective, give people a sample of what OSRS quests are like in the modern era. And people always say that the games are too different and whatnot, but they got the same core loop behind them. It's just a different way of going about it, and there's lots of fun unique content over on Old School. So enjoy that when you're running through there. But
I definitely will. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying not to rush things. I want to take it slowly and enjoy it. Savor the meal.
Yeah, don't rush. And, I'll also take this as an opportunity to mention we are waiting for Project Rebalance to arrive on that side, and Sirion and I discuss Old School each and every Sunday in a similar format to this show, but a little bit different. Head on over to update.show/OS, and my escape key just fell off my keyboard. That's slightly concerning. But in any case, youtube.com/@OSRS update for that. But as for what I've been doing, I'm at level 119 fletching. Just got a little bit left to go, and I should hit 120 by the time DXP is all done. That's what I set myself out to do when we began this double XP, and I'm still conflicted on virtual 120s, guys. Should I be going for those, or should I be doing something else? What do you guys think?
120 is all the way.
Even if they're virtual?
Well, yeah.
I'd be hypocrite to say no after what I've just said.
I want to hear your opinion about why you think that might be an interesting thing to go, because me having multiple virtual 120s still and skills that don't have real 120s, I've done them, and I still feel a sense of conflict about them internally. So I'd like to know what makes them tick for you, I guess, in that regard, or anybody. Is a good way of putting it.
The skill, like
okay.
I mean, the 120s I have are the ones that I enjoy doing mostly, but I don't really draw a line between the virtual and the real. The real is the only line there is for me is I have to have them to be true max. But
right.
Otherwise,
and maybe unlocks
no real
in the case
difference.
of like the real ones. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. What put you on the 120 path, Dark, as virtual, as you said you were considering for fishing?
I think, and this is terrible, I think it's seeing the numbers go up and going, ooh, and getting that small burst of serotonin. So, it's not anything particular. I'm thinking, I really enjoy the skill, but there's also the completionist element. I think I've got a nice full set of 120s. It looks clean, it looks nice.
And there's that 120 cape at the end, too.
Yes. And there is talk about turning some of these other skills, which haven't got an actual 120, into real 120. So I think, well, if I'm at virtual 120, I've automatically hit it. So it's a worthwhile investment.
Okay. That's an interesting way of looking about it. I will let you guys know once I hit 120 fletching, but aside from that, there have been a boatload of other achievements, as is tradition with double XP here. So starting off, we have Bulbasaur with 120 Dungeoneering on May 22nd. We also have Dane Karai with 99 Herblore and 99 Crafting. Elder Onyx got 200 million Summoning XP. Ichazi got 120 Necromancy. Mej Quest got 120 Invention and 120 Archaeology. Queen Rupal got 120 Archaeology. Ultradog 177 got 99 Necromancy. Then moving on to the 21st, we have Bellicosity with 99 Woodcutting, 99 Firemaking, and 120 Necromancy. Izarap got 120 Necromancy and 120 Attack. Jade Gizmo got 120 Hunter. Tiz Talk Rec got 120 Construction. And Woody got 120 Runecrafting.
All right, and continuing on, we have Bellicosity with 99 Thieving. Canis Rufus 1 with 120 Herblore. We have Dane Kare with 99 Thieving. We have Jesse Pinkman with 120 Firemaking. And then we have Pentaside with 99 Woodcutting, Farming, Runecrafting, Invention, Fishing, Attack, Smithing, Fletching, Strength, Hunter, Ranged, Divination, Thieving, Construction, Mining, Summoning, Defense, Constitution, and Prayer. Congratulations. That's a lot. And Necromancy. Oh, and Herblore. Woo! That gotta get you. Yeah,
Good
there you go.
Job. Congratulations.
Boom. And last but not least for mine, Santa Ends 120 Herblore.
Well done, everyone.
And moving on, we have, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounce any names, with Adonai with 120 Smithing, with Dane Karai with 99 Slayer, Darth Wolfus for 120 Necromancy, Dianima, we have 99 Necromancy, or Men, we have 99 Prayer, Quests are shit! 120 Construction, with Lord Zorix with 99 Summoning, Tim 2 with 120 Fletching, Z with 120 Divination, Dane Karai again with 99 Rune Crafting. We have Juju Macon with 120 Farming, Lord Zorich again with 99 Construction, Todio 22 with 99 Woodcutting, and Rob with 200 million Fishing XP. Congratulations, Rob.
And that's what we call the double XP rush of achievements here on Update. There will be another similar rush next week, I'm sure of it. But congratulations to everybody with that. And with that, we're moving on to Pick of the Week. And Dark, you have one for us. A classic, but still a Pick of the Week nonetheless. It hasn't been talked about on Update before.
Yes, no, it's Pick of the Day. That would Pick of the Week even. That's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And reason why that's my Pick of the Week is because it's going to be Tau Day on this Saturday, 25th of May. And that is a sort of a tribute to the author, Douglas Adams. Sadly, he passed away in 2001 on the 11th of May. 2 weeks on, the original fans back in that first year came up with a tribute, and it's been the same thing every year. So that's what my pick of the week this year. This week,
I was going to ask exactly what Tau Day was, but you explained that quite well there.
Yeah, it's basically a way of sort of celebrating the author, but why Tau specifically is relevant to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is interesting, and I'll read a little excerpt from Hitchhiker's Guide if you don't mind. Just give me half a second to bring it up.
Yeah, sure.
So what they say about Tau is a Tau, it says, is about the most massively useful thing an interstellar hitchhiker can have. Partly it has great practical value, but it also mentions, more importantly, a Tau has immense psychological value. For example, if a Strag, which is a Strag, non-hitchhiker, discovers that a hitchhiker has his Tau with him, he will automatically assume that he's also in possession of a toothbrush, face flannel, soap, tin of biscuits, that sort of thing. And then, therefore, he'll happily lend whatever the hitchhiker might be missing because they've probably lost it. So what it says is that if you have a Tau with you, if you know where your Tau is, then you're pretty put together. So you're a hoopy frood, as they'd say.
Okay, that's interesting. My thought with this on this book is that I've heard about it so much, but I've never actually read this. So just to bring this all around back to the original pick of the week and where we're at, what is the main reason that somebody would pick up this book, and what's the main draw to it for you?
Well, fun enough, it started off as a radio show first, and then it was written into books, then it had TV shows, then it had, I think, 2 films now. But the reason why I picked up the books initially was because it's like one of the cornerstones, I think, of sort of comedy sci-fi. So, and it's I'd say, it's a very British humour sort of book. It's very dry, so perhaps it might not translate well to other sort of cultures. But it's so quintessentially British, and it's so sort of British sense of humour that you just sort of got to enjoy it. It's nonsensical. It becomes so absurd that you actually find some sort of deeper meaning in it, and what that deeper meaning is perhaps unique to yourself. Nice.
Well, that sounds like a good pick of the week, and I'm honestly surprised that nobody has done this before for pick of the week here at the podcast. I know we got a lot of book people and a lot of Audible people, so it makes sense. But in any case, drama free, you also have a pick of the week for us, and this one's a bit timely. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, Dart, thanks for bringing the British, to the podcast. I have done a very American pick of the week for us Americans. It's having someone bring food to your door. So HelloFresh or any food delivery service. I personally use HelloFresh, and the reason I use HelloFresh is because it gives me very simple recipes to cook in 15 to 30 minutes, and it's enabled me to be able to expand my cooking knowledge and cooking ability to be able to add to recipes.
Oh, interesting.
Learn recipes. And now I can go and get a HelloFresh recipe delivered. And it's got these ingredients. And then I can think, I have this in the fridge. I could add double the vegetables. I could add this squash. I could add this protein, whether it be tofu or peas or, seitan. It's allowed me to be able to like expand my culture food-wise as well, because you can pick as basic food as you want, hamburgers and potatoes, or you can get Thai curry. You can get, a orange chicken if you go that route. So that's why I like it. I'm not saying it is the best value for food, but I'm no longer throwing away as much food. And
Right.
so that's where it's the value for me.
And I mean, also, I have to say, with the way the American food supply has went, and North American too, in general, I don't know if Europe is at this point yet, but you go to the grocery store, you buy something, and there's a very real chance that, there's just tons of preservatives and lots of stuff in it that you don't want. And my understanding of HelloFresh is that you get the raw ingredients from it, and you're making that, and you're not going to have as much of that flowing into you as you would normally. So I think it makes sense from the health perspective too, compared to just buying something that's frozen and full of preservatives if you're looking for something that's quick. Then
Yeah, but we give those to you free of charge, Shane.
Oh, I know that's part of the American experience, isn't it?
I mean, this is my plan for immortality. I'm gonna preserve myself.
With all the microplastics and whatnot too.
Yeah.
Are we going the Fallout Ghoul route?
You could. Oh, I'm sorry to hijack your pick of the week, Drama Free, but I think that's a good pick of the week with where we landed on the cookbook. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the podcast here this week. So thank you so much to both you and Dark for coming on the show this week. It was really wonderful having you guys on and discussing the cookbook and just how RuneScape cooking applies to real life. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye here?
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Right on. And thank you, Dark, for doing the Clan Quest cook-off. And I'm glad we were able to kind of mesh the timelines on the cook-off, the cookbook, and the podcast for that. So I'm happy we were able to do that.
No, it's always great fun. So it's really nice to sort of bring it back around and connect it to the cookbook. It's been really great fun. Thank you so much.
Right on then. And if you want update delivered automatically to you, the best way to do that is to subscribe. Head on over to update.show/subscribe. We're on all the podcast listeners out there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast, and of course YouTube as well, youtube.com/RSBANDB. Do give us a like and subscribe there. It greatly means the world to us and helps the channel out. But with that being said, we'll be back next week for Osius and a full deep dive discussion on everything coming with the Sanctum of Rebirth. So until then, see you then, everybody. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.